I want you, God would have you to understand that the one you possibly maybe don't think of, look down on, walk past, and turn your nose up. Not anybody in here. Your consciousness may want to think about the fact that that person got there by an unjust system. That either we play into it or we attack it. You know?
No, that means you only set up a binary system. There are other possibilities along the continuum.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm just throwing an example.
Because my being blessed is not dependent on whether or not you are blessed or not. How God chooses to treat me or bless me is not dependent on how he treats someone else.
No, it's agree or how you treat somebody. Right. But I agree with that. But the blessings that is bestowed upon me is for the purpose of my resources and whatever I do in blessing the one who find themselves out on the margin, out in the hush hoppers, where our ancestors had to go and worship before they were allowed to worship publicly. So because at some point the blood that runs through your veins have all been set out, been on the margins, been in a place that the rest of the society thought it was okay because you were not but a nigger. Oh, is that thing?
Yes.
I mean, that's the reality of it. I mean, we come from a space that we go through the space. I'm looking at the elections now, and people were talking about a corrupt election. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. My ancestors had to count beans. My ancestors had, my people had to count how many jelly beans were in a bazaar in order to be permitted to vote. That's rigged. Yeah. My ancestors were beaten before they got to the polls, turned away because they, all kinds of. So this foolishness about a rigged election is it's a waste of airtime and breath.
Yeah. But none of that stuff is focused.
Listen to the language of this country and folk in this country, and the return to a better day and a better time and that sort of thing. To me, and I'm just saying, for me, it's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. I've heard some crazy stuff, and people being upset about rigged elections and returning back to when there were a better time. And if you ask my mother if she was still here, or my grandparents and that sort of thing, they would have a different perspective. All right, but I believe it's because we have a different consciousness. It's about where our consciousness is. America is better to me because 20-something million folk now have health care. Not that I may have to pay a higher premium, because while that some people may see that unjust, because why should they have to pay for, but the fact that my neighbor is able to go now to the hospital and get care, I willingly will pay more. Mm-hmm. That's the consciousness of wanting for others, not just for myself. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and to me that all leads back into
how you feed in an unjust process. Y'all with me? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had this happen to me.
Because we no longer put out into the atmosphere. When the Bible says there's life and death in the power of the tongue, it means this. I mean, you can't speak nobody's death. That foolishness is just life and death is that we no longer put out in the atmosphere. Speak it. Speak. The Bible talks about speaking it into existence. Mm-hmm. Yeah, speak it as if it were, now, okay, let me not, because I don't want to kick up Dustin in here. I don't even speak it any longer based on the fact that I've gotten so caught up into this quote-unquote American way of living. Now, let me be very clear. I don't have anything against America. I love people in this country. So I would want the survival of this country. I don't like the fact that we have gone to this and through this process where we no longer see that we have that life and death lies in the power of the tongue, and all I've heard is just viciousness this campaign season, and all I hear is viciousness from us towards us, oftentimes. And so we don't speak it into the environment any longer. We don't, our consciousness don't drive us, and I'm talking very general, not to anybody specific, because you may be there, and I applaud you. I'm not. Our consciousness take us out of ourselves, our egos, and fight for justice, even when it is against the populace. Who fights for the indigenous population in this room? That they have the right to leave reservations and claim back their land. You know, so I'm not for this, if you want to, for me, if you want God's blessing upon this country, then go back and correct some of the heinous, vicious things that we have done to people in order for us to be where we are today. Right? And so this consciousness that we have, this ability to rise above our physical selves and live in the conscious is very important, because that's where our creativity lies. That's where our songs are. Some of the best songwriters write from a standpoint of higher thinking consciousness. Even in these nasty raps that cuss, there's a message in there that talks, that gives a message. I don't like listening to it because the language is just too poor for me. But for a younger generation, they understand the consciousness of it. Right?
The mess of the age is the message.
Huh?
The mess of the age is
Right.
the message.
Right. Right. And so they will dig and use the language they need to use to get to the people they're trying to get to. Right? You agree?
That's true.
Right.
That is
Right.
true.
Right. So Ecclesiastes starts. So let's look at this so I wanted to set the stage. It's not about you tonight and where you stand, but where you are as it relates to. That's a contradiction, isn't it? It's not about you tonight, but it is about us thinking at a level of how do we play into bringing justice in an unjust world, in an unjust country. And I use the thing like universal health care. They call it Obamacare. I think President Obama should wear it with pride.
Yeah.
He does.
That's it.
He does.
Right. I think he should wear it with pride. Because 20-something million folk now got health care. Huh? And and believe me, my premiums are going up. I was supposed to go for a procedure. I had to reschedule it. Because, now I went to where I didn't have to pay anything, maybe $200 at the most, now it's $700. But, let me be very clear. If that's what it takes for somebody else to have something, then that inconvenience for me, I'm willing to swallow. Huh? Well, making sure, because you can't have a capitalistic society when it comes to medicine and have universal health care and think it's going to come cheap. Because as a capitalist, I go into medicine not necessarily to save you, but to take as much money from you as possible.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to keep you sick to keep you coming back. I'm going to keep you sick to keep you coming back, right?
Because if our healthcare system was about health, then it would be free.
Hello.
Right.
Exactly.
Hey. Swing that. There is no reason for us to not have one of the best healthcare systems in the world and do it on the cheap.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
agree.
But because we are capitalists, because we're trained to get as much money as possible, if I go to med school and I spend 8 years and come out, do you really think I really care about you getting healed? I mean, on a certain level I do, because my reputation depends on it. But what's more on my mind is how much money we make,
Yeah.
how big my house gonna be, and what type of car I'm gonna drive. Because it's about I'm a capitalist, and so how do we feed into this capitalist society? Depends on and how we exist in it depends on our level of consciousness. There are some people who will I see them and they just will not participate in it as much as possible. If you live in this country, to some degree you're going to participate in it. But there are some people who just will not, who will do all they can to abstain rather than to participate in a capitalist society.
Yeah.
But because we went lacking for so long, they don't look like us. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's a good. Ecclesiastes, the 11th chapter and the first verse. All right. So we're talking about level of consciousness now, right? So you take off your garment of capitalism and put on your thinking of capitalist, which means that of consciousness, which means that my thinking goes way beyond me. Right? Way beyond me. Way beyond me. All right. So my vision is not about me tonight, but about those who I'm thinking about in my mind, who I've passed along the way, or family members who are in desperate need of help, or that sort of thing. All right. So that's somebody. Hey, where's my glass? Somebody start.
It's 11. Ship your grain across the sea. After many days, you may receive a return. Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. This is NIV, by the way.
Thank you.
If clouds are full of water, they pour rain on the earth. Whether a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where it falls, there it will lay. 4. Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. As you do not know the path of the wind or how the body is formed in a mother's womb, so you cannot understand the work of God, the maker of all things.
So let me stop. So some of us have such control issues that we look at the wind to try to predict, so that in order for us to design our lives. Now, that's a metaphor, right? Those are hyperbole. So let me put it in there. We study and go to school. They're wonderful. I'm all for that. That's a wonderful thing, right? Mm-hmm. But we do so for the purpose of what?
Money.
Right.
No, I don't. I'm different.
So that I can make more money.
Mm-hmm. That's what this says. That's the goal, folks.
That's not why I got my master's.
Oh, well, okay, so the focus would be on me tonight. I went to school so I can make more money. Right?
Me too.
I'm a capitalist.
Me too.
And for so many years, all I heard was, if you want to make more money, if you want to be, go to school, get as much education as you can. And it came from my grandparents who did not have the opportunities that I had and had to work themselves to death. Literally died. The doctor said, your grandmother's body just wore out. Just wore out. She had no disease. It was worn out. Because she ironed white folks' clothes and took care of white folks' homes. And it took me a long time to get to say this stuff. And because I was like, Mama, the biggest fight I had with my grandma today is that my education doesn't matter. Nothing matters, because at the end of the day, when push comes shove, those who are here will always look out for those who are here. And those who are not there will always just get crumbs from the table.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? All right. So the way we try this now is, read that scripture again. We look at the wind. We are so afraid of failure, but we take the fear in the direction of trying to control the wind instead of attacking that which caused us to be in this situation in the first place.
Yeah.
And that is an unjust society. Not only will we not attack it, we will align with it.
Path of the least resistance.
Yeah, we will align with it. You know what I'm saying? And in a church such as ours, we have to be extremely sensitive to the fact what our mission is, and that is to go after anything that brings about an unjust for anybody. Now that's work, and that's risky, because what we're saying is that we will go against the populace. For an example, and we that's one of our main purposes. Our opening and welcoming congregation means that everybody is welcome. Everybody has a seat at the table. Everybody has a right to worship. everybody has a voice and must speak it, no matter who you are, where you're from, who you sleep with, all that stuff. We're not involved in it. We don't care. All we see you is as Minister St. Julia talks about, when she greets us, she greets our souls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she greets the soul of who we are, the essence of who we are. Am I right? The essence.
Yes.
You know, and everybody got an essence. Now, we may not utilize that essence much, but all of us got something within. What's that something within that holdeth the reins? Something within I cannot explain. That's something that resides deep in us that we must stay connected with if, in fact, we talk about moving and grooving and doing our purpose. You cannot talk about your purpose unless you have tapped into the essence. To me, it is the Godhead. For others, I don't know. But for that which God has planted in me, right? Yeah. So it speaks to my consciousness, and so when Paul says, when I would do good, but evil is always there.
Right.
I gotta struggle with these every day, so I have to make a conscious decision, right?
Yeah.
Because if I went about feelings, I'll be on the side of evil. Because it feels better. It's easier. It's easier to go with the crowd. It's easier to go to the church that talks about homosexual and bash them and send them to hell than to be in a church that says God is love.
Yeah.
Because that's worse. That means I gotta love you. I don't like you. I don't even like you. I don't want to love you.
Can I open up something, because you opened up the door for something?